Cole Maddox didn't know the worn leather diary he found, wedged beneath a train seat, would cost him everything he thought he wanted. Inside were the words of a woman he'd never met, Eliza Hart, running from a marriage she never asked for, chasing a future no one would give her. Most men would have tossed it. Cole couldn't. Something in her voice grabbed hold and wouldn't let go. So he made the kind of choice that changes a life. He'd find her, return what she'd lost, maybe save her if she'd let him. He had no idea she'd end up saving him instead. If you're curious where this story goes, stick around. And hey, hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this tale travels. The train rattled through open country, all dust and dry wind cutting through the gaps in the passenger car. Cole Maddox sat slumped against the window, hat tipped low, one boot propped on the seat across from him. He wasn't headed anywhere in particular, just west. Away from the last town that didn't work out, toward the next one that probably wouldn't either. He'd been a lot of things: ranch hand, freight guard, occasional card sharp when the work dried up. None of it stuck. Nothing ever did. 31 years old, and he still moved like a man dodging something he couldn't name. The seat beneath him was cracked leather, stuffing poking through in places. When he shifted his weight, something hard pressed against his thigh. He frowned, reached down, and pulled out a small book wedged deep in the cushion seam. Leather cover, worn edges, no name on the outside. He flipped it open. The handwriting inside was careful, slanted, feminine. The ink had bled in a few places, like the writer had been on a moving train when she wrote it. Cole squinted at the first page. Father told me today that I will marry Richard Calloway in 6 weeks. He did not ask. He announced it like a business arrangement. Perhaps that is all I am to him. An arrangement. Cole's thumb paused on the edge of the page. He shouldn't read this. It wasn't his. He kept reading. Richard is 43. I am 22. He owns land, cattle, influence. Father says I should be grateful. I feel only dread. This is not the life I wanted. I wanted books, a schoolhouse, my own name on something that mattered. Cole let out a slow breath and leaned back. Whoever this woman was, she'd left her whole damn heart in this diary. And now it was rattled loose under a train seat, headed nowhere. He turned another page. I am leaving tomorrow. I have saved what I could. I have a cousin in Ashford who may help me, though we have not spoken in years. I do not know if I am brave or foolish. Perhaps both. Perhaps it does not matter. I cannot stay. End of the line, mister. Cole looked up. The conductor stood in the aisle, one hand on the seat back, waiting. Right. Cole shoved the diary into his coat pocket and stood, grabbing his pack from the overhead rack. The town was called Ridgefield, and it looked like every other High Plains settlement he'd seen. A single dusty street, a few storefronts, a saloon with a crooked sign, and a stable that smelled like it needed mucking out a month ago. He found a boarding house that didn't ask questions and paid for 3 nights up front. That evening, he sat on the edge of a narrow bed and pulled the diary out again. He told himself he was looking for a name, an address, something to return it by. But that wasn't the whole truth. The truth was, the voice in those pages had hooked him. It was sharp and sad and stubborn, all at once. The kind of voice that didn't quit, even when it should have. He read late into the night. She wrote about her father, a man named Jonathan Hart, who ran a freight company out of a town called Boone's Ferry. She wrote about her mother, dead 6 years, about the house that felt like a cage, about books she wasn't supposed to read and dreams she wasn't supposed to have. And she wrote about running. I left before dawn. No one saw me go. I took the diary, my mother's ring, and $43 I had hidden in a flour tin. I do not know if that makes me a thief. I do not care. Cole leaned back against the headboard and rubbed his eyes. The lamp on the table flickered. Eliza Hart. That was her name. She'd written it once near the back in a moment of anger. I am Eliza Hart, not Eliza Calloway, not anyone's arrangement, just Eliza. He should leave it at the next post office. Send it back to Boone's Ferry with a note. But something stopped him. She was out there, alone, running from a man twice her age and a father who saw her as property. And she'd lost the one thing that seemed to matter to her, the only place she'd written down what she really felt. Cole set the diary on the bed beside him and stared at the ceiling. You're a damn fool, Maddox, he muttered. But the next morning, he didn't head west. He headed north. Boone's Ferry was 2 days' ride, tucked into a valley where the river bent and the land flattened out. It was bigger than Ridgefield, warehouses along the water, a row of shops, a hotel with actual paint on it. Cole tied his horse outside a general store and stepped inside. The woman behind the counter looked up, suspicious. "Help you?" "Looking for information," Cole said. "About a family named Hart." Her expression went cold. "Jonathan Hart don't take kindly to strangers asking questions. I'm not looking for trouble, just trying to return something that got lost." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded toward the door. "Freight office. End of the street. But I'd watch my step if I were you." Cole found the office easily enough. It was a squat brick building with Hart & Sons painted across the front in fading letters. A clerk sat at a desk inside, shuffling papers. "Help you?" "I'm looking for Eliza Hart." The clerk's pen stopped moving. He looked up slowly. "Miss Hart don't live here anymore." "I know. I'm trying to find her. She lost something. I'd like to return it." "What'd she lose?" Cole hesitated. "A diary." The clerk's mouth thinned. "Her father don't want her found." "I'm not asking her father." "Then you're asking the wrong person." The clerk went back to his papers. "Now get out before I call someone who'll make you." Cole didn't move. "She wrote about a cousin in Ashford." The clerk didn't look up, but his jaw tightened. That was answer enough. Ashford was another 3 days northeast, across open prairie and into timber country. The town sat at the edge of a pine forest, small and quiet, the kind of place where people knew each other's business and didn't trust anyone new. Cole found the post office first. "I'm looking for someone," he told the postmaster, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses. "A woman named Eliza Hart. She might have come through here a few weeks back." The postmaster frowned. "Don't know anyone by that name. She might have used a different name. Young woman, dark hair, traveling alone." The man's frown deepened. "Why are you looking for her?" "I found something that belongs to her, trying to return it." The postmaster didn't answer right away. Then he said, "There was a woman came through about 10 days ago, stayed at the boarding house for a night, then moved on. Didn't give a name." "Where'd she go?" "Don't know, but she asked about work, teaching work." Cole felt something tighten in his chest. Where would someone go for that? The postmaster shrugged. Bigger town, somewhere with a school board. Maybe Fairhaven, maybe farther. Cole thanked him and left. Back outside, he stood in the street and pulled the diary from his coat. He flipped through the pages until he found the entry he'd read the night before. "I want to teach. I want a schoolhouse with children who ask questions and books that smell like ink and paper. I want to matter in a way that is mine." "Fairhaven," Cole said quietly. He mounted his horse and rode east. The trail stretched long, and the weather turned cold. Cole slept rough most nights, under stars that felt farther away than they used to. He didn't talk to himself much, but the voice in the diary filled the silence anyway. She wrote about fear, about doubt, about nights when she nearly turned back. "I do not know if I am strong enough for this, but I know I am not strong enough to return." Cole found himself reading those words over and over. He'd never met anyone like her. Hell, he'd never met her at all. But the way she wrote, it was like she'd cracked herself open and put it all on the page. No pretending, no polite lies. It made him think about the things he never said out loud, the reasons he kept moving, the fact that he'd been alone for so long he didn't know how to be anything else. By the time he reached Fairhaven, he'd read the diary 3 times, cover to cover. The town was bigger than he expected. 2 main streets, a courthouse, a rail depot, and a school building with a bell tower. Cole hitched his horse outside a saloon and went inside. The bartender was a broad-shouldered man with a scar across his knuckles. "Whiskey?" Cole said. The man poured. "Passing through?" "Looking for someone." "Aren't we all?" The bartender smirked. "Who?" "A woman. Name's Eliza Hart. She might have come through here looking for teaching work." The bartender's smirk faded. "Why?" "I've got something that belongs to her." "What kind of something?" Cole hesitated. Then he pulled the diary out and set it on the bar. The bartender glanced at it, then at Cole. "You read that?" "Yeah." "And now you're hunting her down." "I'm returning it." "That what you're calling it?" Cole's jaw tightened. "I'm not here to cause trouble. The bartender studied him for a long moment. Then he said, "There's a woman staying at the boarding house on Maple Street. Came in last week. Paid cash. Keeps to herself. Could be her." Cole's pulse kicked. "Thanks." He left the whiskey untouched. The boarding house was a 2-story clapboard building with a front porch and flower boxes that looked like someone actually cared. Cole knocked on the door. A woman in her 50s answered, wiping her hands on an apron. "Help you?" "I'm looking for someone." "A woman named Eliza Hart." The landlady's expression went carefully blank. "Don't know anyone by that name." "She's young, traveling alone, might have asked about work." The landlady hesitated, then she said, "There's a woman staying upstairs, but she don't want visitors. I need to see her. She don't want... I have something that belongs to her." Cole pulled the diary out. "She lost this. I'm just trying to give it back." The landlady looked at the diary. Her face softened just a little. "Wait here." She disappeared inside. Cole stood on the porch, heart hammering. A few minutes later, footsteps sounded on the stairs. The door opened, and there she was. Eliza Hart was smaller than he'd imagined. Dark hair pinned up, simple dress, hands that looked like they'd worked. But her eyes, sharp, guarded, furious. Those matched the voice in the diary exactly. She stared at him. Then she saw the diary in his hand. Her face went pale. "Where did you get that?" "Found it on a train, Ridgefield Line." Her eyes narrowed. "You read it." It wasn't a question. Cole didn't lie. "Yes." For a moment, she just looked at him. Then her voice dropped, cold and shaking. "You read my diary. You followed me. And now you're standing on my doorstep like some kind of..." She stopped, took a breath. "Who the hell are you?" "My name's Cole Maddox. I'm not here to hurt you. I just wanted to return what you lost." "By tracking me across 3 states?" "I didn't know where else to find you. So you hunted me." "I followed the trail you left. That's not the same thing." Her hands clenched into fists. "You read my private thoughts, my fears, my..." Her voice cracked. "You had no right." "I know." "Then why?" Cole didn't have a good answer, not one that made sense. "Because you sounded like you needed it back," he said quietly. "And I didn't want you to lose the only thing that was yours." Eliza stared at him. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't let the tears fall. "You don't know me." "No. But I know what you wrote. And I know it mattered." She took a shaky breath. Then she stepped forward and snatched the diary from his hand. "Leave." "Eliza? Don't say my name. You don't get to say my name." Her voice was raw. "You don't know me. You know words I wrote when I thought no one would ever read them. That's not the same thing." Cole held up his hands. "You're right." "I don't need your..." "You're right," he said again, louder. "I shouldn't have read it. I shouldn't have followed you, but I did. And I can't undo that. So here's what I can do. I can leave, right now, and you'll never see me again." She glared at him, breathing hard. "But before I go," Cole said quietly, "I need you to know something. What you wrote, about wanting more, about running, about being scared and doing it anyway, that meant something. To me. Maybe that doesn't matter to you, but it's the truth." Eliza's face crumpled. Just for a second, then she pulled it back together, hard. "Go." Cole nodded. He turned and walked down the porch steps. He was halfway to his horse when she called out. "Wait." He stopped. Eliza stood in the doorway, clutching the diary to her chest. "Why did it mean something to you?" Cole turned. "Because I've been running my whole life, and I never once wrote down why." She didn't say anything. "You're braver than I ever was," Cole said. "That's why I followed you, not to hurt you, just to see what that looked like." The silence stretched long. Then Eliza said, "I don't trust you." "I wouldn't either. But I don't want you to leave yet." Cole's heart kicked hard. "Okay." She stepped back inside. "There's a diner 2 blocks east, tomorrow, noon. I'll be there." Eliza closed the door. Skiz. Cole stood in the street, staring at the empty porch, and let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. He had no idea what he'd just started. But he knew, with absolute certainty, that nothing would be the same after this. Cole didn't sleep much that night. He lay on a thin mattress in a rented room above the saloon, staring at water stains on the ceiling and replaying every word she'd said. The anger in her voice, the hurt, the way she'd clutched that diary like it was the only piece of herself she had left. He'd done this to her, followed her like some lovesick fool with a stranger's secrets in his pocket. She had every right to hate him, but she'd asked him to stay. That meant something. He just didn't know what yet. Morning came slow. Cole washed his face in a basin, shaved with a dull razor, and put on the cleanest shirt he had. It wasn't much. None of his clothes were, but he didn't want to look like a drifter when he saw her again. He showed up at the diner 15 minutes early and took a table by the window. The place smelled like bacon grease and burnt coffee. A waitress with tired eyes brought him a cup without asking. "You eating?" "Not yet." She shrugged and left. Cole watched the street. Noon came and went. Then 12:15, 12:30. She wasn't coming. He should have known. She didn't owe him anything. Hell, she didn't even know him. He was just the man who'd invaded her privacy and tracked her down like... The door opened. Eliza stepped inside, scanning the room until her eyes landed on him. She looked different in daylight, tired, wary. But there was something else, too. A sharpness, like she'd spent the night deciding exactly what she wanted to say and wasn't going to waste a word. She crossed to the table and sat down without greeting him. "I almost didn't come," she said. "I wouldn't have blamed you." The waitress appeared. "Coffee?" "Please," Eliza said. The waitress poured and left. Eliza wrapped her hands around the cup but didn't drink. She just stared at him. "I need to know why you really came here," she said. "And don't tell me it was just to return the diary. Men don't ride halfway across the frontier for that." Cole leaned back. "You're right. They don't." "So why did you?" He could have lied, made it sound noble. But she'd already caught him in one invasion. He wasn't going to add another. "Because I read what you wrote," Cole said. "And it made me feel something I hadn't felt in a long time." "What?" "Like maybe there was more to life than just moving through it." Eliza's jaw tightened. "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I've got." She looked away, out the window. "You don't know me. You know the version of me I wrote down when I was scared and angry and desperate. That's not the same thing." "I know." "Then stop acting like you do." Cole nodded slowly. "Fair enough." Eliza turned back to him. "I want to be clear about something. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I left my father's house because I was tired of being told who I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to want. I'm not about to let some stranger do the same thing." "I'm not trying to." "Then what are you trying to do?" Cole hesitated. "I don't know yet." For the first time, something shifted in her expression. Not softness, she wasn't giving him that, but maybe a crack in the wall. "At least you're honest," she said. "That's about all I've got." Eliza picked up her coffee and took a sip. She grimaced. "This is terrible." "Yeah." They sat in silence for a moment. Then she said, "I'm staying in Fairhaven for now. I'm trying to find work, teaching work." "I heard." "Of course you did." She almost smiled. Almost. "The school board meets next week. I'm going to apply for the position. You'll get it. You don't know that. I read what you wrote about teaching. If they don't hire you, they're fools." Eliza set the cup down. "You can't keep doing that." "Doing what?" "Talking like you know me." "I'm just saying what I think." "Well, stop." Her voice wasn't angry this time, just firm. "If you're going to be here, and I haven't decided if I want you here, you need to understand something. I'm not the woman in that diary anymore. That was me running. This is me building, and I'm doing it alone." Cole met her eyes. "Understood." She studied him for a long moment, then she stood. "I have to go. I'm meeting someone about a room." "Can I see you again?" Eliza paused. "Why?" "Because I'd like to." She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "There's a church social on Saturday. I'm going. If you want to see me, you can come. But don't expect anything." "I won't." She left without another word. Cole sat alone at the table, staring at his untouched coffee, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The next few days passed slow. Cole found work at the rail yard, loading freight cars for $1 a day. It wasn't much, but it kept him busy and gave him a reason to stay. He rented a room in a boarding house on the edge of town and tried not to think too hard about what the hell he was doing. He'd never stayed anywhere this long. Not without a reason. And Eliza wasn't a reason. Not yet. She was just a woman who told him to back off and maybe, possibly, didn't entirely hate him. That shouldn't have been enough. But it was. Saturday came. Cole cleaned up, borrowed a jacket from another boarder, and walked to the church hall just after sundown. The building was lit up, music spilling out into the street. Inside, people milled around tables loaded with food. Kids ran between the adults. A fiddler played in the corner. Cole scanned the room. He saw her near the back talking to an older woman in a dark blue dress. Eliza wore something simple, a gray dress with a high collar, but she looked different here, less guarded, almost relaxed. Then she saw him. Her expression didn't change, but she said something to the woman and crossed the room. "You came," she said. "You told me to." "I didn't think you would." Cole shrugged. "I don't have anywhere else to be." Eliza's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "Come on, I'll introduce you." She led him over to the woman she'd been talking to, a schoolteacher named Mrs. Callahan, who looked him up and down like she was deciding whether to trust him or run him out of town. "This is Cole Maddox," Eliza said. "He's new here." "Passing through?" Mrs. Callahan asked. "Not sure yet," Cole said. Mrs. Callahan's eyebrows lifted, but she didn't push. "Well, welcome to Fairhaven. Try the pie. It's the only thing worth eating." She wandered off. Eliza turned to him. "She's on the school board." Should I have said something different? "No, she doesn't trust charm, just honesty." "Good thing I don't have any charm." This time, Eliza did smile. Just a little. "Come on, let's get some air." They stepped outside into the cool night. The music was quieter here, muffled by the walls. Eliza leaned against the railing and looked out at the dark street. "I met with the school board yesterday," she said. "How'd it go?" "They asked a lot of questions about my experience, my education, why I left home." She paused. "I didn't tell them the whole truth." "What'd you say?" "That my father and I had a disagreement about my future, that I wanted to teach and he wanted me to marry, that I chose teaching." "That's not a lie." "It's not the whole story." Cole leaned on the railing beside her. "You don't owe them the whole story." "I know, but it still feels like I'm hiding." "You're protecting yourself. That's different." Eliza glanced at him. "You're good at that." "At what?" "Saying the thing I need to hear." Cole shook his head. "I'm just saying what I think." "That's what makes it worse." They stood in silence for a while. Then Eliza said, "They're going to make a decision next week. Mrs. Callahan said I have a good chance. But there's another candidate. A man. He has more experience." "You'll get it." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." Eliza turned to face him. "What if I don't? What if I came all this way and it doesn't work?" "Then you try somewhere else. And if that doesn't work, then you keep trying." She looked at him like she wanted to believe that, like she was trying to. "I'm tired, Cole." It was the first time she'd said his name. It hit him harder than it should have. "I know," he said quietly. "I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. Running, starting over, pretending I'm not terrified." "You don't have to pretend. Not with me." Eliza's eyes filled. She blinked hard, but one tear slipped free. She wiped it away fast, angry at herself. "I don't cry," she said. "Everyone cries." "Not me. Not anymore." Cole didn't argue. He just stood there, close enough that she could reach him if she wanted to. She didn't, but she didn't move away either. "I should go back inside," she said finally. "Okay." But she didn't move. "Cole." "Yeah?" "Why are you really here?" He'd been waiting for that question, dreading it, because he didn't have a good answer, just the truth. "Because I read your words and I felt less alone," he said. "And I wanted to see if the person who wrote them was real." "And?" "You're real." Eliza let out a shaky breath. "I don't know what to do with that." "You don't have to do anything." "But you want something. Everyone wants something." Cole looked at her, really looked, at the fear in her eyes and the strength she was barely holding on to and the exhaustion she wouldn't admit. "I want you to get what you came here for," he said. "That's all." Eliza stared at him. Then she nodded, once, and went back inside. Cole stayed on the porch, watching the stars, and wondered what the hell he'd gotten himself into. The next week crawled. Cole kept working at the rail yard, kept his head down, and didn't push. He saw Eliza twice, once at the general store, once on the street, and both times she just nodded and kept walking. He didn't follow. Then on Thursday, she found him. He was hauling crates when she appeared at the edge of the yard, hands folded, face unreadable. "Can we talk?" Cole set the crate down. "Yeah." They walked to a quiet corner away from the other workers. "I got the job," Eliza said. Relief hit him hard. "I knew you would." "No, you didn't. You just said it." "Same thing?" She almost smiled, then it faded. "I start Monday. But there's a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Mrs. Callahan asked about my family. She wants a reference, someone who can vouch for me." Cole's stomach sank. "Your father." "I can't ask him. If I do, he'll know where I am, and he'll send someone. Or come himself." "What about your cousin?" "We haven't spoken in years. She won't do it." Cole thought fast. "What if you had someone else? Someone here who knows you?" "I don't know anyone here." "You know me." Eliza shook her head. "You're a drifter who showed up 2 weeks ago. They're not going to trust that." "Then make me something they will trust." She frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Tell them I'm family. A cousin. Someone who's known you for years." "That's a lie." "It's a story. And it'll keep you safe." Eliza stared at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because you need it. That's not a reason. It's the only one I've got." She looked away, jaw tight. "If they find out, they won't. Not if we're careful. And what do you get out of this?" Cole met her eyes. "The chance to see you do what you came here to do." Eliza didn't say anything for a long time. Then she nodded, slow. "Okay." They met with Mrs. Callahan the next day. Cole wore the borrowed jacket again and kept his answers short and simple. Yes, he'd known Eliza for years. Yes, she was smart, capable, determined. Yes, he'd vouch for her without hesitation. Mrs. Callahan watched him the whole time, eyes sharp. "You two don't look much alike," she said. "Different sides of the family," Eliza said smoothly. Mrs. Callahan's mouth twitched. "I see." Cole wasn't sure if she believed them, but she didn't push. "All right," she said finally. "I'll make the recommendation to the board. You start Monday, Miss Hart." Eliza let out a breath. "Thank you." Outside, she turned to Cole. "That was reckless." "It worked. This time. Then we'll be more careful next time." Eliza shook her head, but there was something softer in her expression now. Not trust. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. "I owe you," she said. "No, you don't." "Yes, I do, and I don't like owing people." Cole shrugged. "Then don't think of it that way." "How should I think of it?" "However you want." Eliza looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "Walk with me." They walked through town, past the shops and the courthouse and the edge of the timber line. Eliza talked about the job, about the students she'd meet, about the nervousness she wouldn't admit to feeling. Cole listened. He didn't offer advice or try to fix anything. He just let her talk. When they reached the boarding house, she stopped. "I'm still not sure about you," she said. "That's fair. But I don't think you're trying to hurt me." "I'm not." Eliza nodded. "Then maybe we can try this, whatever this is." "What do you want it to be?" "I don't know yet." Cole smiled. "That's okay." Eliza turned to go inside. Then she stopped and looked back. "Thank you, Cole." "For what?" "For not giving up." She went inside before he could answer. Cole stood in the street, heart pounding, and felt something shift inside him. Something he couldn't name but recognized all the same. He wasn't running anymore. Monday came. Eliza started teaching at the Fairhaven Schoolhouse, a one-room building with 23 students ranging from 6 to 15. Cole found excuses to walk past during the day, just to see her through the window. She looked different there, alive, like she'd finally found the thing she was meant to do. He didn't interrupt, didn't wave, just watched and kept walking. That evening, she found him at the boarding house. "You walked by 3 times today," she said. Cole didn't deny it. "I wanted to see how it went." "You could have just asked." "Didn't want to bother you." Eliza crossed her arms. "It went well. The kids are good. A little wild, but good. I'm glad." "One of them asked if I was married." Cole's chest tightened. "What'd you say?" "I said no." "What'd they say?" "They asked why not." Cole waited. "I told them I was too busy teaching to worry about that," Eliza said. "Then they asked if I had a beau." "And?" I didn't answer. The silence stretched. "Cole?" "Yeah?" "What are we doing?" He didn't have an answer, not a good one. "I don't know," he said finally, "but I don't want to stop." Eliza looked at him, and for the first time the guard in her eyes dropped. Just a little. "Neither do I." They fell into a rhythm after that. Eliza taught during the day. Cole worked at the rail yard. In the evenings they walked. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't. But the space between them started to feel less like a gulf and more like something they were building together. One night, 3 weeks in, Eliza asked him about the diary. "Did you keep it? After you gave it back?" "No, it's yours." "I know, but did you remember what was in it?" Cole looked at her. "Some of it." "What part?" "The part where you said you wanted to matter." Eliza's breath caught. "I didn't think anyone would ever read that." "I know." "Does it bother you that I wanted more than what I had?" "No, it makes me respect you." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I wrote something else, near the end, before I lost it." "What?" "That I was terrified I'd never find someone who saw me, not who my father wanted me to be. Just me." Cole's heart kicked. "You'll find that." "What if I already did?" The words hung in the air between them. Cole stopped walking, turned to face her. "Eliza." She met his eyes. "I'm not saying I trust you completely. I'm not saying this is easy, but I think maybe you see me, the real me." "I do." "Then don't let me down." "I won't." Eliza stepped closer, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her eyes, the freckle near her jaw, the way her hands trembled just a little. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too." She kissed him. It was soft, hesitant, like she was testing whether this was real or just another thing that would fall apart. Cole kissed her back, careful, trying not to ask for more than she was ready to give. When she pulled away, her eyes were bright. "I don't know what happens next," she said. "Neither do I. But I want to find out." Cole reached for her hand. She let him take it. "Then we'll find out together." They didn't tell anyone. Not at first. It wasn't shame, it was caution. Eliza had built something fragile here, and Cole understood that one wrong word, one judgment from the wrong person, could bring it all down. So they kept it quiet, walked separately to the same places, met in the evenings when the streets were empty, learned each other in stolen hours that felt like secrets they were keeping from the whole world. But secrets don't stay buried long in small towns. It was Mrs. Callahan who noticed first. She cornered Eliza after school one afternoon, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "You're spending a lot of time with that cousin of yours." Eliza kept her voice steady. "He's family." "Mm-hmm." Mrs. Callahan didn't look convinced. "Funny thing, I asked around. No one in town knew your family had people out this way." Eliza's pulse kicked, but she didn't flinch. "We're not close. He only just found me." "Convenient timing." "Is there something you want to say, Mrs. Callahan?" The older woman studied her for a long moment. Then she sighed. "I like you, Miss Hart. You're a good teacher. The kids respect you. But this town talks. And if people start asking questions you can't answer, it won't matter how good you are. You understand?" Eliza nodded. "I do." "Then be careful." Mrs. Callahan left. Eliza stood alone in the schoolroom, hands shaking, and tried to breathe through the panic clawing at her chest. She found Cole that evening at the boarding house. He was sitting on the front steps, whittling a piece of wood with a pocket knife. He looked up when she approached, and the smile on his face died the second he saw her expression. "What happened?" Mrs. Callahan knows. Cole set the knife down. Knows what? That you're not my cousin. Or she suspects it. Same thing. What did she say? That I need to be careful, that people talk. Cole cursed under his breath. This is my fault. No, it's not. I pushed too hard. I should have stayed away. Cole. Eliza sat down beside him, close enough that their knees touched. I don't want you to stay away. But if people find out, then we deal with it. He looked at her like she'd just said something impossible. You could lose everything. I know. And you're still saying this. Eliza met his eyes. You told me once that I was brave. Maybe I'm finally starting to believe it. Cole shook his head, but there was something raw in his expression, something that looked a lot like fear. I don't want to be the reason you lose what you fought for. You're not. I am. This is my choice. Eliza, I spent my whole life being told what to do, who to marry, what to want. I'm done with that. Her voice was steady now, sharp. If I'm going to lose this, it'll be because I chose something I wanted more, not because someone else decided for me. Cole stared at her. Then he let out a rough breath and pulled her close. Eliza leaned into him, felt the solid weight of him, and let herself believe just for a moment that this might actually work. But the relief didn't last long. 2 days later, a man arrived in Fairhaven on horseback, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a long coat that looked expensive. He tied his horse outside the saloon and walked inside like he owned the place. Cole was at the rail yard when word spread. One of the workers, a kid named Danny who liked to gossip, came running over. You hear? There's a man asking about a woman, dark hair, early 20s, traveling alone. Says he's looking for someone who ran off. Cole's blood went cold. When? Just now. He's at the saloon. Cole dropped the crate he was holding and headed for the door. Where you going? Danny called after him. Cole didn't answer. He found the man at the bar talking to the owner, a grizzled man named Frank, who didn't trust strangers and didn't give information for free. But this man didn't look like he was asking. He looked like he was demanding. I'm looking for a woman named Eliza Hart, the man said. His voice was smooth, controlled. I have reason to believe she's in this area. Frank shrugged. Don't know anyone by that name. She's 22, dark hair, likely using a different name. She ran away from home 6 weeks ago. Still don't know her. The man pulled a folded bill from his coat and set it on the bar. Maybe this will help your memory. Frank glanced at the money, then at the man. Maybe it won't. The man's jaw tightened. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here on behalf of her father, Jonathan Hart. He's very concerned about her safety. Cole stepped forward. She's not here. The man turned. His eyes swept over Cole, assessing. And you are? Someone who doesn't like strangers asking questions. The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm not a stranger. I'm a friend of the family. My name is Richard Calloway. The name hit Cole like a fist. This was the man Eliza was supposed to marry, the reason she'd run. She's not here, Cole said again. You seem very certain of that. I am. Richard studied him. Interesting. You know who I'm talking about, but you claim she's not here. That suggests you know where she is. Cole didn't answer. Richard's smile widened. I'll be staying in town for a few days. If you see her, tell her I'd very much like to speak with her. Her father is willing to forgive her. Indiscretion, but only if she comes home willingly. And if she doesn't, then I'll have to insist. Cole's hands curled into fists. You threatening her? I'm offering her a way out of a very complicated situation. Richard picked up his money and tucked it back into his coat. But if she refuses, well, I imagine the consequences will be unfortunate for everyone involved. He tipped his hat and walked out. Cole stood there, heart hammering, and tried to think through the panic. Richard didn't know where Eliza was. Not yet. But he would. It was only a matter of time. He had to warn her. Cole found her at the schoolhouse, cleaning slates after the students had gone home. She looked up when he burst through the door, startled. Cole, what the? He's here. Eliza went pale. Who? Richard Calloway. The slate in her hand slipped and shattered on the floor. No. Her voice was barely a whisper. No, he can't be. He doesn't know where I am. He's asking around. He doesn't know yet, but he will. Eliza staggered back, gripping the edge of the desk. I can't go back. You're not going back. He'll make me, or my father will send someone else. They won't stop. Cole crossed the room and took her by the shoulders. Look at me. She did. Her eyes were wide, terrified. You're not going back, Cole said again, slower this time. I won't let that happen. You can't stop them. You're one man. My father has money, influence. I don't care. You're staying here. And what if they force me? What if they drag me out of this town and there's nothing you can do? Cole's grip tightened. Then I'll follow, and I'll bring you back. Eliza stared at him. Then she pulled away, shaking her head. You don't understand. This isn't just about me. If they find out you helped me, they'll come after you too. Let them. Cole, I mean it, Eliza. I don't care what they do to me. I care about you. Her breath hitched. Why? Why do you care this much? Because you're the first thing I've ever wanted to fight for. The words hung between them, raw and honest. Eliza's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. I'm so tired of running, she whispered. Then stop. Stay. Fight. I don't know if I can. Cole cupped her face in his hands. You can. I've seen you do harder things. Eliza closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. For a moment, they just stood there, breathing together in the quiet schoolroom. Then she straightened, wiped her eyes, and looked at him with something fierce in her gaze. Okay, she said, I'll stay. But we need a plan. What kind of plan? The kind that keeps me here and gets Richard Calloway the hell out of this town. Well, they spent the next 2 hours working it out. The plan was simple, maybe too simple, but it was all they had. Eliza would keep teaching, keep her head down, and avoid being seen by Richard at all costs. Cole would watch him, figure out how long he planned to stay, and find a way to convince him Eliza wasn't here. It was risky. It required luck. And it assumed Richard wouldn't start digging too deep. But it was the only option they had. That night, Eliza stayed at Cole's boarding house. Not in his room, she took the empty one down the hall, but close enough that he could hear her moving around, pacing, unable to sleep. He wanted to go to her, wanted to tell her it would be okay. But he didn't know if that was true, and he wasn't going to lie to her. So he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, and waited for morning. The next day, Richard started asking more questions. He went to the general store, the post office, the church. He described Eliza in detail, her height, her hair, the way she spoke. He offered money to anyone who had information, and people started talking. By midday, whispers were spreading through town. A missing woman, a wealthy family, a man looking for his runaway bride. Cole heard it all at the rail yard. Danny came over again, eyes wide with excitement. You hear? That guy's looking for his fiancée. Says she ran off before the wedding. Can you imagine? Cole kept loading crates. No. I heard he's offering $100 to anyone who finds her. Cole's hand stilled. $100 was more money than most people in Fairhaven saw in 6 months. That kind of reward would make people look harder, ask more questions. She's probably long gone, Cole said, trying to sound casual. Maybe. But if she's not... Danny grinned. I could use $100. Cole forced himself to keep working, to not react. But inside his mind was racing. They were running out of time. That evening, he found Eliza at the schoolhouse again. She was sitting at her desk, staring at an open book, but not reading it. He's offering a reward, Cole said. Eliza didn't look up. I know. Mrs. Callahan told me. People are going to start looking. I know. Eliza, I said I know. Her voice cracked. She set the book down and pressed her hands to her face. I don't know what to do, Cole. I can't keep hiding. But if I leave, I lose everything I've built here. Cole crossed to her, knelt beside the desk. Then we make him leave. How? We tell him the truth. Eliza dropped her hands. What? We tell him you're here, but you're not going back. He won't accept that. Then we make him. Eliza shook her head. You don't know him. Richard doesn't take no for an answer. Neither does my father. Then I'll make sure they understand. How? Cole stood. By being very, very clear about what happens if they try to take you. Eliza stared at him. You're talking about violence. I'm talking about protecting you. Cole, I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Too late. I'm already in this. But, Eliza. He turned to face her fully. You told me you wanted to stay, to fight. So let's fight. But we do it together. And we do it smart. She looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded, slow and deliberate. Okay, together. The confrontation happened the next afternoon. Richard was staying at the hotel, the nicest one in town, 3 stories with actual wallpaper in the lobby. Cole waited outside until he saw Richard leave, heading toward the saloon. Then he followed. Richard noticed him immediately. He stopped in the middle of the street and turned. Mr. Maddox, I was hoping we'd speak again. I'm sure you were. Richard smiled. You seem tense. You need to leave Fairhaven. I'll leave when I've found what I came for. She doesn't want to see you. Richard's smile faded. So she is here. Cole didn't answer. I thought so. Richard stepped closer. You've been helping her, hiding her. That's very noble, but also very foolish. She's not going back. That's not your decision to make. It's hers, and she's made it. Richard's expression hardened. Eliza is confused. She's made a mistake, and her father is willing to forgive her. But that forgiveness has limits. She didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. A choice to throw away her future? To live in some backwater town teaching other people's children instead of raising her own? Richard shook his head. That's not a choice. That's a fantasy. It's her life. And I'm offering her a better one. She doesn't want it. Richard's jaw tightened. You don't speak for her. Neither do you. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Richard said, quiet and cold, You're in over your head, Mr. Maddox. Jonathan Hart is a powerful man. If you continue to interfere, you'll regret it. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Cole stepped closer, close enough that he could see the anger flickering in Richard's eyes. Here's another fact. Eliza's not going anywhere, and if you try to make her, you'll have to go through me. Richard laughed. You think you can stop me? I know I can. You're a drifter with nothing. I have resources, connections, the law on my side. You don't have her, and that's all that matters. Richard's smile disappeared entirely. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. Cole turned and walked away, every muscle in his body tense, half expecting Richard to come at him from behind. But he didn't. He just stood there, watching. When Cole reached the edge of the street, he glanced back. Richard was still there, staring after him, and the look on his face said everything Cole needed to know. This wasn't over. Not even close. Eliza was waiting for him at the boarding house. She'd heard about the confrontation. Word traveled fast in small towns, and her face was tight with worry. What did you say to him? The truth. Cole, he knows you're here. There's no point hiding it now. Eliza sank onto the porch steps. He's going to tell my father. Probably. Then my father will come. Or send someone worse than Richard. Let him. Eliza looked up, eyes blazing. You keep saying that like it's simple. Like we can just stand here and fight off my entire family. But we can't, Cole. They have money, power. We have nothing. We have each other. That's not enough. The words hit him hard. Cole sat down beside her, close but not touching. You're right, he said quietly. It might not be enough, but it's what we've got. And I'd rather fight with nothing than watch you get dragged back to a life you hate. Eliza's shoulders sagged. I'm so scared. I know. What if we lose? Then we lose. But at least we tried. She turned to him, eyes wet. I don't want to lose you. Cole reached for her hand. You won't. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. Eliza leaned against him and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. They sat like that for a long time, watching the sun set over the town, and tried to hold on to the fragile, dangerous thing they'd built together. The next morning, Richard Calloway left Fairhaven. But before he did, he stopped by the schoolhouse one last time. Eliza was inside, preparing for the day, when he walked through the door. She froze. Hello, Eliza. Get out. Richard closed the door behind him. I just want to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Then listen. He crossed the room slowly, hands open, non-threatening. Your father is worried about you. He wants you to come home. This is my home now. This? Richard glanced around the small, cramped schoolroom. You gave up everything for this? I gave up nothing. I gained everything. Richard's expression softened, but it felt rehearsed, false. Eliza, I know you're angry. I know you feel trapped, but running away isn't the answer. I didn't run away. I left. It's the same thing. No, it's not. Eliza straightened, meeting his eyes. I left because I wanted a life that was mine. Not yours. Not my father's. Mine. And you think you'll find that here? With him? Eliza's pulse kicked. Cole has nothing to do with this. Doesn't he? Richard stepped closer. You think I don't see what's happening? You've replaced one cage with another, only this time the bars are made of sentiment instead of obligation. You're wrong. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, you've traded a future with me, a man of means, position, stability, for a drifter who'll be gone the moment something better comes along. Eliza's hands curled into fists. Cole is 10 times the man you'll ever be. Richard's mask slipped, just for a second, but it was enough. You'll regret this, he said quietly. No, I won't. Your father won't let this go. Then he'll have to accept that I'm not coming back. Richard stared at her. Then he turned and walked to the door, but before he left, he looked back one last time. I hope he's worth it, Eliza, because you're about to lose everything for him. He left. Eliza stood alone in the schoolroom, shaking, and tried to convince herself she'd made the right choice. But deep down, she knew Richard was right about one thing. This was just the beginning. The days after Richard left felt like waiting for a storm. Eliza taught her classes, smiled at the children, corrected their spelling, and listened to their stumbling recitations. But underneath it all, she was braced for impact. Every knock on the door made her flinch. Every stranger in town set her teeth on edge. Cole felt it too. He worked longer hours at the rail yard, partly to keep busy and partly to keep an eye on anyone new who came through. He'd made himself a fixture there, someone people nodded to but didn't really know. Invisible in the way that mattered, but now he was watching, waiting. 2 weeks passed, then 3. Nothing happened. Eliza started to breathe a little easier. Maybe Richard had given up. Maybe her father had decided she wasn't worth the effort. Maybe they'd gotten lucky. Cole didn't believe in luck. He was at the boarding house one evening, mending a torn shirt by lamplight, when someone knocked on his door. He opened it to find Mrs. Callahan standing in the hallway, her expression grim. We need to talk, she said. Cole stepped aside and let her in. She didn't sit, just stood in the middle of the room with her arms crossed, looking at him like she was trying to decide whether to help him or turn him in. There's a man asking questions about Miss Hart, she said finally. Different man this time, older, says he's her father. Cole's stomach dropped. When? He arrived this morning, went straight to the mayor's office, said his daughter ran away, and he's here to bring her home. What'd the mayor say? That he'd look into it. But Jonathan Hart came with a lawyer and documents proving she's his daughter. He's got the law on his side, Cole. She's 22. She's not a child. Doesn't matter. Unmarried woman, no property of her own, left without permission. He can claim she's not of sound mind, that she needs to be returned to her family for her own protection. Cole's hands curled into fists. That's insane. That's the law. Mrs. Callahan's voice was flat. And unless she can prove she's capable of supporting herself, they'll side with him. She's a teacher. She's supporting herself. For now, but if he pushes, if he makes this a legal issue, the school board will have to let her go. They won't risk the trouble. Cole stared at her. You'd fire her? I don't want to, but I don't make the decisions alone. Mrs. Callahan's face softened, just a fraction. I'm telling you this because I like Eliza. She's a good teacher. The kids love her, but you need to understand what you're up against. Jonathan Hart isn't some spurned suitor. He's a man with money and connections, and he's not going to stop until he gets what he wants. Then we'll fight him. With what? You're a rail worker. She's a school teacher. You don't have the resources to fight a man like that. We'll find a way. Mrs. Callahan shook her head. I hope you're right, because if you're not, you're both going to lose everything. Left. Cole stood alone in his room, pulse hammering, and tried to think through the panic. They needed a plan. a real one this time. Not just hope and stubbornness. He found Eliza at the schoolhouse an hour later. She was sitting at her desk, papers spread out in front of her, but she wasn't working, just staring at nothing. "He's here," she said before Cole could speak. "Isn't he?" "Yeah." Eliza nodded slowly, like she'd been expecting this. "What does he want?" "You, home, whatever he can get. He'll get nothing." "He's got a lawyer, Eliza, documents. He's claiming you're not capable of making your own decisions." Her head snapped up. "That's a lie." "I know, but it doesn't matter if he can convince people it's true." Eliza stood, pacing now. "So what do we do? Run again? Keep running until there's nowhere left to go?" "No. We stay. We prove he's wrong." "How?" Cole hesitated. The idea had been forming in his head since Mrs. Callahan left, but he hadn't said it out loud yet. Hadn't let himself think about what it would mean. "We get married." Eliza stopped pacing, turned to stare at him. "What?" "If you're married, you're not under your father's control anymore. You're legally independent. He can't claim you're incapable or drag you home." "Cole, that's the only option we have." Eliza shook her head. "You can't be serious." "I am. We've known each other 2 months." "I know. This isn't... We're not..." She stopped, took a breath. "I won't marry you just to escape my father. That's not fair to you. It's not about fair, it's about keeping you safe. And what happens after? When my father leaves and we're stuck in a marriage neither of us wanted?" Cole met her eyes. "Who says I don't want it?" The silence stretched long and painful. Eliza stared at him, and he could see the war happening behind her eyes, fear and hope, and something that looked a lot like longing. "You don't mean that," she said finally. "Yes, I do." "Cole, you barely know me." "I know enough." "You know what I wrote in a diary? That's not the same as knowing me." "Then let me know you. For real this time." Cole stepped closer. "I'm not asking you to marry me because I want to trap you or because I think it's romantic. I'm asking because it's the only way I know to protect you. And yeah, maybe it's fast. Maybe it's reckless. But I'd rather do something reckless than watch you get dragged back to a life that'll kill you." Eliza's breath caught. "You think it would kill me?" "I think it would break you. And I can't watch that happen." She looked away, blinking hard. "This is insane." "I know. If we do this, there's no going back." "I know. And if it doesn't work, if he finds a way to take me anyway, you'll be tied to me. You'll lose your freedom too." "I don't care about my freedom. I care about you." Eliza turned back to him, and the tears she'd been holding spilled over. "Why? Why do you care this much?" Cole reached up and brushed a tear from her cheek. "Because you make me want to stay, and I've never wanted that before." She closed her eyes, leaning into his hand. "I'm terrified." "Me too." "What if we're making a mistake?" "Then we'll make it together." Eliza opened her eyes, looked at him like she was trying to memorize his face. Then she nodded, slow and deliberate. "Okay." "Okay?" "Yes, let's get married." Cole felt something in his chest crack wide open. He pulled her close, and she buried her face in his shoulder, shaking. He held her until the shaking stopped, until she could breathe again. "We'll do this tomorrow," he said quietly, "before your father can file anything legal." "Tomorrow," Eliza repeated. Then she pulled back and looked at him, eyes red but steady. "I need you to understand something, Cole. If we do this, I'm not going to be grateful. I'm not going to owe you. This is a partnership, equal, or it's nothing." "I wouldn't want it any other way." She searched his face. Then she kissed him, hard, desperate, like she was sealing a promise. When she pulled away, her voice was rough. "Don't make me regret this." "I won't." They went to the courthouse the next morning. The clerk was a thin man with spectacles who looked at them like they were joking when Cole said they wanted a marriage license. "Right now?" "Right now," Cole said. The clerk glanced at Eliza. "You sure about this, miss?" "Yes." "You know him long?" "Long enough." The clerk didn't look convinced, but he pulled out the paperwork anyway. "You'll need 2 witnesses." Cole turned and found Danny from the rail yard lingering near the door. "You busy?" Danny blinked. "Not really." "Good. You're a witness." To what? A wedding. Danny's eyes went wide. Seriously? Seriously. They found a second witness in the woman who ran the courthouse records. A no-nonsense type who asked no questions and signed where she was told. 10 minutes later, Cole and Eliza stood in front of a judge who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "This is highly irregular," the judge said. "We're in a hurry," Cole replied. "I can see that." The judge glanced at Eliza. "You're doing this of your own free will?" "Yes." "No one's forcing you?" "No." The judge sighed. "All right, let's get this over with." The ceremony lasted less than 5 minutes. There were no flowers, no music, no guests. Just words spoken fast and legal, a signature on a document, and a ring that Cole had bought from the general store that morning, plain silver, nothing fancy. When the judge pronounced them married, Cole kissed Eliza. Brief, tentative, like he was afraid she'd pull away. She didn't. Outside, Danny clapped Cole on the shoulder. "Congratulations, I guess." "Thanks. You gonna tell me what this is really about?" "No." Danny shrugged. "Fair enough. Good luck, man." He left. Cole and Eliza stood on the courthouse steps, married, and neither of them knew what to say. "So," Eliza said finally, "that happened." "Yeah. I don't feel any different." "Me neither." She looked down at the ring on her finger. "It's crooked." "I can fix it." "Don't. I like it crooked." She glanced up at him. "What now?" "Now we tell your father." Eliza's face went pale. "Cole, he needs to know before he hears it from someone else. He's going to be furious." "Let him be furious. He can't do anything about it now." Eliza took a shaky breath. "Okay, let's go." Jonathan Hart was staying at the hotel. Cole and Eliza found him in the lobby, talking to his lawyer, a sharp-eyed man in a tailored suit who looked like he could argue the devil into submission. Both men looked up when Cole and Eliza entered. Jonathan Hart was tall, gray-haired, with a face that might have been handsome once but had hardened into something cold and unyielding. He looked at Eliza like she was a problem that needed solving. "Eliza," he said. No warmth, just her name. "Father, I've been looking for you." "I know." Jonathan's gaze shifted to Cole. "And who is this?" "My husband." The words landed like a bomb. Jonathan's face went still. The lawyer's eyebrows shot up. "Your what?" Jonathan said quietly. "My husband. We were married this morning." Jonathan stared at her, then at Cole, then back at Eliza. "You can't be serious." "I am." "You married some drifter you barely know just to spite me?" "I married him because I wanted to." Jonathan's hands curled into fists. "You have no idea what you've done." "I know exactly what I've done. I've made my own choice. For the first time in my life." "You've made a mistake." "No, I've made a decision. There's a difference." Jonathan's jaw tightened. He turned to the lawyer. "Can we annul this?" The lawyer hesitated. "If we can prove coercion or fraud, possibly. But if the marriage was entered into willingly—" "It was," Eliza said firmly. "Then it's legal," the lawyer finished. Jonathan turned back to Eliza, and for the first time there was something other than cold control in his eyes, something that looked almost like pain. "Why?" he asked quietly. "Why would you do this to me?" "This isn't about you, Father. It never was. I gave you everything, a home, an education, a future. You gave me a cage, and you called it love." Jonathan flinched. "I was trying to protect you." "From what? From living my own life? From making mistakes you'd regret?" "Like this?" Eliza held up her hand, showing the ring. "You think this is a mistake, but it's not. It's the first thing I've ever done that felt right." Jonathan looked at Cole. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing," Cole said. "She made this choice herself. You took advantage of her." "No. I gave her an option. She took it." Jonathan's face darkened. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I know exactly who I'm dealing with. A man who thinks he owns his daughter." Jonathan stepped forward, and Cole didn't back down. They stood toe to toe, and the air between them felt like it might crack. "You'll regret this," Jonathan said. "Maybe." but it'll be my regret, not yours." Jonathan's hands shook. For a moment, Cole thought he might actually swing. But then the older man took a breath and stepped back. "I could destroy you," Jonathan said quietly. "Both of you. I have the resources, the connections." "Then do it," Eliza said. "But I'm still not coming home." Jonathan turned to her, and something in his expression broke, just a little. "You were always stubborn, like your mother. Don't talk about her. She would have hated this. She would have understood." Jonathan shook his head. "No, she wouldn't have. She knew what it meant to be part of a family, to honor your obligations. And look where it got her. Dead at 45, married to a man who never saw her as anything more than a decoration." The words hung in the air, sharp and brutal. Jonathan's face went white. "How dare you?" "It's the truth, and you know it." Jonathan stared at his daughter, and for the first time he looked old, tired, like he'd just realized he'd lost something he couldn't get back. "If you walk out that door," he said quietly, "you're no longer my daughter." Eliza's eyes filled, but her voice didn't waver. "I stopped being your daughter the day you told me who I had to marry." Jonathan didn't answer. He just turned and walked toward the stairs, the lawyer trailing behind him. Neither of them looked back. Eliza stood in the lobby, shaking, and Cole put his arm around her. She leaned into him, and he felt her tears soak through his shirt. "I just lost my father," she whispered. "I know. He's really gone." "Yeah. I thought I'd feel relieved, but I just feel empty." Cole held her tighter. "It'll get easier." "You don't know that." "No, but I'm here, and that counts for something." Eliza pulled back and looked at him, eyes red and swollen. "What if I made the wrong choice?" "You didn't." "But what if—" "Eliza." Cole cupped her face in his hands. "You chose yourself. That's never the wrong choice." She stared at him. Then she nodded, slow and shaky, and let him lead her out of the hotel. The news spread fast. By evening, everyone in Fairhaven knew that the schoolteacher had married the rail worker in a rushed courthouse ceremony. Speculation ran wild. Some said it was a love match. Others said she'd been forced. A few whispered that she was pregnant and needed to cover it up. Eliza ignored it all. She went back to teaching, head high, and dared anyone to say something to her face. Most people didn't, but the looks followed her everywhere. Mrs. Callahan pulled her aside after school one day. "You all right?" the older woman asked. "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." Eliza set down the slate she was holding. "I married a man I barely know to escape my father's control. I'm not sure fine is an option right now." "Do you regret it?" Eliza hesitated. "I don't know yet." Mrs. Callahan nodded. "Fair answer. But for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing." Eliza looked up, surprised. "You do?" "Your father was going to drag you back whether you wanted to go or not. At least this way, you had a say in what happened." Mrs. Callahan paused. "And that husband of yours, he looks at you like you're the only thing in the world that matters. That's not nothing." Eliza felt her throat tighten. "I'm scared I'm going to ruin this. That I don't know how to be married. That I'll wake up one day and realize I made a terrible mistake. That's what everyone feels." "Even you?" "Especially me. I was married for 32 years, and I spent half of them convinced I'd made the wrong choice." Mrs. Callahan smiled. "But I hadn't. I'd just chosen something hard, and hard doesn't mean wrong." Eliza nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Mrs. Callahan patted her shoulder. "Give it time, and give yourself some grace. You're doing better than you think." Cole and Eliza moved into a small house on the edge of town. 2 rooms, a leaky roof, and a stove that smoked every time they lit it. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. The first night they stood in the middle of the main room, staring at each other like strangers. "I can sleep on the floor," Cole said. Eliza looked at him. "We're married, Cole." "I know, but I don't want you to feel like—" "I don't." She crossed to him, took his hand. "I'm not saying I'm ready for everything, but I don't want you on the floor." "Okay." They went to bed that night fully clothed, lying side by side in the dark. Neither of them slept much, but somewhere around dawn, Eliza's hand found Cole's under the blanket. He squeezed it, and she squeezed back. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The days settled into a rhythm after that. Eliza taught. Cole worked. They cooked together in the evenings, fumbling through recipes neither of them really knew. They talked. About small things at first, then bigger ones. About Eliza's mother. About Cole's childhood, spent moving from place to place with a father who drank and a mother who left when he was 10. About the things they wanted and the things they feared. Slowly, carefully, they built something real. One evening, about a month after the wedding, Eliza came home from school to find Cole sitting on the front step, whittling. "What are you making?" she asked. He held up a small wooden bird, rough, unfinished, but recognizable. "For you." Eliza took it, turning it over in her hands. "It's beautiful." "It's not done yet." "I don't care." She sat down beside him. "Thank you." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun set. Then Eliza said, "I got a letter today." Cole stilled. "From who?" "My father." His stomach dropped. "What'd it say?" Eliza pulled the letter from her pocket and handed it to him. Cole unfolded it, scanned the words. "Eliza, I do not approve of your choices, but I am not a man who abandons family, no matter how far they stray. If you ever need help, truly need it, you know where to find me." Your father Cole read it twice, then he handed it back. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing. He made his position clear. I made mine. This is just him leaving the door open a crack in case I come crawling back." "Will you?" "No." Eliza folded the letter and tucked it away. "I'm done crawling." Cole reached for her hand. She laced her fingers through his. "I'm glad you stayed," he said quietly. Eliza looked at him. "So am I." And for the first time since this whole thing started, Cole believed her. But peace never lasted long. 2 weeks later, Cole came home to find Eliza sitting at the table, pale and shaking. There was a notice in front of her, an official-looking document with the school board seal at the top. "What is it?" Cole asked. Eliza didn't look up. "They're letting me go." "What? Why?" "Because my father filed a complaint. Said I was morally unfit to teach, that I abandoned my family and married a stranger under questionable circumstances." Her voice cracked. "The board voted to terminate my position, effective immediately." Cole's blood went cold. "They can't do that." "They just did." "We'll fight it." "With what, Cole?" "We don't have money for a lawyer, and even if we did, my father has more. He'll drag this out until we're broke and exhausted." "So we let him win?" "No, we accept that some battles can't be won." Eliza stood, wiping her eyes. "I'll find other work. There are other towns, other schools." "You shouldn't have to leave." "But I will, because staying here means fighting a war I don't have the strength for anymore." She looked at him, and her eyes were hard. "I'm tired, Cole. I'm so tired of fighting." Cole wanted to argue, wanted to tell her they could fix this, but he saw the exhaustion in her face and knew she was right. Some battles couldn't be won. Not the way they wanted. "Okay," he said quietly. "Then we leave. Together." Eliza nodded. Together. And even though it felt like losing, Cole knew it was the only way forward. They left Fairhaven on a cold morning in late October. The sky was gray, threatening rain, and the wind cut through their coats like it had a personal grudge. Cole loaded their belongings into a wagon he'd borrowed from a man at the rail yard. Clothes, books, the few pieces of furniture they'd accumulated. It didn't amount to much. Everything they owned fit in the back of a single wagon with room to spare. Eliza stood on the porch of the house they were leaving behind, staring at the door like she was trying to memorize it. Cole came up beside her. "You ready?" She didn't answer right away. Then she nodded, once, and climbed into the wagon. They didn't talk much on the road. There wasn't much to say. Fairhaven had been a chance, a real one, and it had been taken from them. Not by bad luck or bad timing, but by a man who couldn't stand the idea that his daughter had chosen something he hadn't approved. Cole wanted to be angry, wanted to rage against the unfairness of it all. But mostly, he just felt tired. And when he glanced at Eliza sitting stiff and silent beside him, he knew she felt the same. They stopped for the night in a town called Red Hill, a nothing place with a single street and a boarding house that smelled like mildew. The landlady gave them a narrow look when they said they were married, but didn't argue when Cole paid up front. Their room was small, the bed sagging in the middle, but it was warm and dry. Eliza sat on the edge of the bed and pulled off her boots. How much money do we have left? Cole did the math in his head. Enough for another week. Maybe 2 if we're careful. And then? I'll find work. You will too. What if there's nothing? There's always something. Eliza looked at him, and there was something raw in her eyes. I cost you everything, didn't I? Your freedom, your life. You could have kept moving, kept being whoever you wanted to be, and now you're stuck with me. Cole sat down beside her. You didn't cost me anything. I chose this. Because I needed you to. No, because I wanted to. He reached for her hand. Eliza, I spent 31 years moving from place to place because I didn't have a reason to stay. You gave me one. That's not a cost. That's a gift. Her eyes filled. I don't feel like a gift right now. I feel like a burden. You're not. I got you dragged into a fight with my father. I lost my job. We're running again because of me. We're running because your father's a bastard who can't let go. That's not on you. Eliza pulled her hand away. It feels like it is. Cole didn't argue. He just sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched, and let the silence settle. After a while, Eliza leaned against him, and he put his arm around her. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. I wanted this to work. I wanted to prove I could build something on my own, and I couldn't even do that. You did build something. You taught those kids for 3 months. They learned from you. That matters. It doesn't feel like it matters. It will. Give it time. Eliza closed her eyes. I'm so tired of time being the answer. Cole kissed the top of her head. I know. They fell asleep that night, tangled together, holding on like they were each other's only anchor in a world that kept trying to tear them apart. The next town was called Ashby, and it was bigger than Red Hill, big enough to have a school, a general store, a bank, and a newspaper office. Cole found work at a lumber mill on the edge of town, hauling logs and running the saw. It was hard, brutal work that left his hands raw and his back screaming, but it paid. Eliza applied for a teaching position, but the school board took one look at her lack of references and turned her down. She tried the general store next, then the hotel, then a seamstress shop. Every door closed. By the end of the second week, she was desperate enough to take a job washing dishes at a boarding house for 50 cents a day. It wasn't what she'd wanted, wasn't even close, but it was something. They survived like that for 2 months. Barely. The work was exhausting, the pay was terrible, and they were living in a single rented room that was too cold in the mornings and too hot at night. But they were together, and that had to be enough. One evening, Cole came home to find Eliza sitting at the small table by the window, staring at a letter. Her face was pale. What is it? He asked. She handed him the letter without a word. It was from Mrs. Callahan. Dear Eliza, I hope this letter finds you well. I wanted you to know that the school board has reconsidered their decision. Your father's complaint has been reviewed and dismissed. If you wish to return to Fairhaven, your position is available. However, I must be honest with you. The damage has been done. There are people in this town who believe your father's accusations, and they will not welcome you back easily. You would be fighting an uphill battle every day. I leave the choice to you. But know that if you do return, you will have my support. Yours, Margaret Callahan. Cole read it twice. Then he set it down and looked at Eliza. What do you want to do? I don't know. Do you want to go back? Eliza shook her head. I don't think so. Even if I could teach again, it wouldn't be the same. I'd always be the woman who ran away and married a stranger. The woman who caused trouble. I don't want to spend the rest of my life fighting that. So we stay here? I don't know if I can do that either. She looked at him, and her eyes were tired. I don't know what I want anymore, Cole. I thought I did. I thought teaching was the answer, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe I've been chasing the wrong thing this whole time. Cole pulled out a chair and sat across from her. What do you think the right thing is? I don't know. I just know I can't keep doing this. Moving from place to place, scraping by, waiting for my father to show up and ruin everything again. She paused. I need to face him, really face him, not run, not hide, just end this. How? I don't know yet, but I can't keep living like this. Like I'm a fugitive, like I did something wrong. Her voice hardened. I didn't do anything wrong. I left. That's all. I left a life I didn't want and built one I did. And if he can't accept that, then he needs to hear it from me. Cole reached across the table and took her hand. Then we'll go to him. Eliza's eyes widened. What? We'll go to Boone's Ferry. You'll tell him exactly what you just told me, and then we'll leave. For good. And he won't have any power over you anymore. Cole, that's insane. He'll what? Yell? Threaten? He's already done that. He's already tried to ruin us. What else can he do? Eliza stared at him. He could hurt you. Let him try. I'm serious. So am I. Cole squeezed her hand. Eliza, you're right. You can't keep running, and you can't keep living in fear of what he might do. So we go. We face him, and we take the power back. Eliza's breath hitched. What if it doesn't work? Then at least we tried. She looked down at their joined hands. Then she nodded, slow and deliberate. Okay, let's go. Boone's Ferry looked exactly the way Eliza had described it. A river town with warehouses and docks and the smell of freight and fish. Cole and Eliza arrived in the late afternoon, the sky heavy with clouds. They left the wagon at a livery stable and walked toward the Hart & Sons freight office. Eliza's hands were shaking. Cole took one of them and held it tight. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. They found Jonathan Hart in his office, sitting behind a massive oak desk covered in ledgers and contracts. He looked up when they entered, and his face went still. Eliza. Father. Jonathan's gaze shifted to Cole. You brought him. He's my husband. Where I go, he goes. Jonathan set down his pen. What do you want? To talk. We have nothing to talk about. Yes, we do. Eliza stepped forward, and Cole stayed close behind her. I came here to tell you something, and I need you to listen. Jonathan leaned back in his chair. I'm listening. Eliza took a breath. I'm not coming back. Ever. I'm not apologizing for leaving. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm just telling you that this family, this fight, it's over. Jonathan's jaw tightened. You think you can just walk away? I already did, 6 months ago, and I'm still walking. You threw away everything I gave you. No, I chose something different. There's a difference. You chose poverty, struggle, a man with no future. I chose freedom, and a man who sees me as a person, not a possession. Eliza's voice was steady now, sharp. You wanted me to be grateful, to marry Richard and live the life you planned for me. But that life would have killed me, Father. Maybe not right away, but slowly, every day, until there was nothing left of who I really am. Jonathan's face darkened. You think you know what's best for you, but you're a child. I'm 22, and I'm married. I'm not a child. You're my daughter. I was your daughter, but you made it very clear that I stopped being that the moment I refused to obey you. Eliza's eyes filled, but her voice didn't waver. You said if I walked out, I was no longer yours, so I'm not. I'm my own. And I'm his. She reached back and took Cole's hand. And that's how it's going to stay. Jonathan stood slowly. You'll regret this. Maybe, but it'll be my regret, not yours. Jonathan stared at her for a long moment. Then he said, quiet and cold, Get out of my office. Gladly. Eliza turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. If you ever come after us again, if you ever try to ruin another job, another town, another chance, I will make sure everyone in this territory knows exactly what kind of man you are. The kind who would destroy his own daughter because she dared to want something he didn't approve of. Jonathan's face went white. You wouldn't. Try me. She walked out. Cole followed. Outside, Eliza's knees buckled. Cole caught her before she fell, and she clung to him, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. I did it, she whispered. I actually did it. You did. I stood up to him. Yeah, you did. Eliza pulled back and looked at him, eyes wide and disbelieving. He didn't fight back. He just let me go. Because you didn't give him a choice. She laughed, shaky and wild.
I can't believe that worked.
I can. Cole cupped her face in his hands. You're stronger than you think. You always have been. Eliza kissed him, hard and desperate, and he kissed her back. When they pulled apart, she was crying and smiling at the same time. What now? She asked. Now we leave, for real this time. And we don't look back. Eliza nodded. Where do we go? Wherever you want. She thought for a moment. Then she said, somewhere new, somewhere no one knows us, somewhere we can start over.
Okay, let's go.
They walked back to the livery stable, climbed into the wagon, and rode out of Boone's Ferry without looking back once. They settled in a town called Grover's Point, 300 miles west of Boone's Ferry. It was small, quiet, surrounded by farmland and timber. The kind of place where people minded their own business and didn't ask too many questions. Cole found work at a sawmill. Eliza applied for a teaching position and, this time, got it. The school was even smaller than the one in Fairhaven, just 15 students ranging from 6 to 13, but it was hers, and no one questioned her credentials or her past. They rented a house on the edge of town. 2 rooms again, but this time with a porch and a garden plot that Eliza immediately started planning. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. And this time, no one was coming to take it away. The first few months were hard. They were still learning how to be married, how to live together, how to fight without breaking each other, how to build something that felt solid. They argued sometimes. About money, about work, about whose turn it was to cook dinner. But they also laughed and talked, and slowly, carefully, built a life that felt real. One evening, about 6 months after they'd arrived, Eliza came home from school to find Cole sitting on the porch, whittling. He'd finished the wooden bird he'd started back in Fairhaven and moved on to other things. A fox? A deer? A rabbit? What are you making now? She asked. He held up a small wooden house, rough, simple, but recognizable. For you. Eliza took it, turning it over in her hands. It's beautiful. It's not done yet. I don't care. She sat down beside him. I had 3 students ask me today if I was going to have a baby. Cole's hand stilled. What'd you say? I said not yet, but maybe someday. She glanced at him. Would you want that? Cole set the knife down. I don't know. I never thought about it before. And now? Now? Yeah, think I would. Eliza smiled. Me too. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun set over the fields. Then Eliza said, Do you ever regret it? Following me, marrying me, all of it? No. Not even once? Not even once. Cole reached for her hand. Do you? Eliza thought about it. Really thought. No, I don't. I thought I would. I thought I'd wake up one day and realize I'd made a terrible mistake, but I haven't. This, us, it's the best choice I ever made. Cole's throat tightened. Even after everything? Especially after everything. She squeezed his hand. You told me once that I made you want to stay. You made me want to fight, for myself, for us, for the life I actually wanted instead of the one I was told to have. That's not nothing, Cole. That's everything. Cole pulled her close, and she leaned into him, and they sat like that until the stars came out. Time passed. A year, then 2, then 5. Eliza kept teaching. She became known in Grover's Point as the teacher who actually cared, who stayed late to help struggling students, who brought books from her own collection when the school didn't have enough. Parents trusted her. Kids loved her. And slowly, quietly, she built the life she'd always wanted. Cole kept working at the sawmill, but he also started carving more seriously. Little wooden animals at first, then toys, then furniture. People started asking him to make things. A cradle for a new baby, a rocking chair for an elderly woman, a set of bookcases for the general store. He didn't charge much, but it was enough. They had a daughter first, a tiny, fierce thing they named Clara. Then a son 2 years later, quiet and thoughtful, who they called James. The house felt smaller with 2 kids running around, so Cole built an addition. Then another. By the time Clara was 6 and James was 4, the house had 3 bedrooms, a real kitchen, and a porch big enough for the whole family to sit on in the evenings. It wasn't a perfect life. Money was still tight sometimes. The kids got sick, Eliza and Cole still argued about discipline, about how to spend what little they had, about whether James was old enough to help at the mill. But they worked through it, together. And slowly, the fear that had followed Eliza for so long started to fade. She hadn't heard from her father in years. No letters, no threats, no surprise visits. It was like he'd finally accepted that she was gone and wasn't coming back. But then, one afternoon in late spring, a letter arrived. Eliza was in the garden with Clara when Cole came out holding the envelope. His face was grim. "It's from your father," he said. Eliza's stomach dropped. "What does it say?" "I didn't open it. It's addressed to you." Eliza wiped the dirt from her hands and took the letter. She stared at it for a long moment, then broke the seal and unfolded the paper. "Eliza, I am writing to inform you that I have been diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctors say I have less than a year. I do not write to ask for sympathy or reconciliation. I write because there are things I should have said years ago, and I fear I am running out of time. You were right. About Richard. About the life I tried to force on you. I was wrong to do that. I thought I was protecting you, but I was only trying to control you. And in doing so, I lost you. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I regret the way things ended between us. And I am proud of the life you have built, even if it is not the one I would have chosen for you. If you wish to see me before I am gone, you are welcome. If you do not, I will understand. Your father, Jonathan Hart." Eliza read it 3 times. Then she handed it to Cole and sat down on the porch steps, staring at nothing. "What are you thinking?" Cole asked.
I don't know. You want to see him? I don't know that either. Eliza looked up at him. Part of me wants to. Part of me wants to tell him to go to hell. Both are fair. Eliza laughed, sharp and bitter. He waited until he was dying to apologize. That's not fair. That's just cowardly. Maybe, but at least he said it. Eliza shook her head. I don't know if I can forgive him, Cole. Even now. Even with this. Then don't. You don't owe him that. But what if I regret it? What if he dies and I never got to say, I don't know, something? Cole sat down beside her. Then you go. You say what you need to say, and then you walk away. But you do it on your terms, not his. Eliza looked at him, eyes full. Will you come with me? Of course. She leaned against him, and he put his arm around her. I'm scared. I know. What if seeing him makes everything worse? Then we deal with it, together. Eliza nodded. Okay, let's go. They left Clara and James with a neighbor and took the train to Boone's Ferry. The town looked smaller than Eliza remembered. Shabbier, like it had aged badly in the years she'd been gone. Jonathan Hart was in a hospital, a small, grim building on the edge of town. The nurse who led them to his room was quiet, her face carefully neutral. He's very weak, she said. Don't expect much. Eliza nodded. The room was small and smelled like medicine and decay. Jonathan lay in a narrow bed, thin and gray, barely recognizable. His eyes were closed, but they opened when Eliza stepped inside. Eliza, he whispered. Father. He tried to sit up, but the effort was too much. He sagged back against the pillow. You came. I did. Jonathan's gaze shifted to Cole. You too. Yeah. Jonathan let out a weak laugh. I never liked you. I know. But you made her happy, I can see that. Cole didn't answer. Jonathan looked back at Eliza. I meant what I wrote. I'm sorry. Eliza crossed her arms. Are you? Or are you just scared of dying alone? Jonathan flinched. Both. Maybe. I don't know anymore. That's not good enough. I know. Jonathan's voice cracked. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I was a terrible father. I controlled you. I hurt you. I drove you away. And I've spent the last 6 years regretting it. Then why didn't you say something sooner? Because I was too proud, too stubborn, too much like you. He smiled, faint and sad. You got that from me, you know, the stubbornness. Your mother was gentle. You were always more like me. Eliza's throat tightened. I'm nothing like you. You're exactly like me. That's why we fought so hard. Jonathan coughed, and it shook his whole body. When he recovered, his voice was weaker. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Eliza. I'm just asking you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm sorry. Eliza stared at him, and all the anger she'd been holding on to for years rose up in her chest, hot and bitter. She wanted to yell, to tell him it was too late, that sorry didn't fix anything. But then she looked at him, really looked, and saw a man who was dying, scared, alone. And suddenly, the anger didn't feel as important as it used to. I can't forgive you, she said quietly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I can tell you this. I'm happy. I have a husband who loves me, 2 children who are healthy and safe, a life I built on my own terms. And you don't get credit for any of that, but you also don't get to take it away from me anymore. Jonathan's eyes filled. I'm glad. Truly. Eliza nodded. Goodbye, Father. Goodbye, Eliza. She turned and walked out. Cole followed. Outside, she didn't cry. She just stood in the street, breathing hard, and tried to let go of the weight she'd been carrying for so long. You okay? Cole asked. Yeah, I think I am. They took the train back to Grover's Point that evening, and when Eliza walked through the door of their house and saw Clara and James running toward her, she scooped them both up and held them tight. This was her life. This was what mattered, and for the first time she believed it with her whole heart. Jonathan Hart died 3 weeks later. Eliza received a letter from his lawyer informing her that he'd left her a portion of his estate, enough money to pay off the house, buy a piece of land, and set aside something for Clara and James. Eliza stared at the letter for a long time. Then she folded it up and handed it to Cole. What do you want to do with it? He asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to send it back, but that feels petty. It's not petty. It's your choice. Eliza thought about it. Then she said, let's keep it, but we'll use it for something good, something that would have made him angry. Cole smiled. Like what? A library for the school, so other kids can have what I wanted when I was their age. Cole kissed her. I love you. I love you too. They built the library that summer. It wasn't big, just a single room attached to the schoolhouse, with shelves Cole made himself and books Eliza ordered from catalogs. But it was real. And when it opened, the whole town showed up. Claire and James cut the ribbon, and Eliza stood beside them, watching kids rush inside to grab books off the shelves. Cole stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder, and she leaned back into him. We did it, she said. Yeah, we did. Eliza looked around at the town they'd built a life in, at the school where she taught, at the kids who were already sprawled on the floor reading, at Cole, who'd followed her across the frontier and stayed. She thought about the diary she'd lost on a train 6 years ago, about the woman who'd written those words, scared, desperate, running. She barely recognized her anymore. Do you ever think about how this started? She asked Cole. All the time. Do you regret it? Any of it? Cole turned her around to face him. Not for a second. Eliza smiled. Good. Neither do I. He kissed her, and the kids in the library groaned, and Clara yelled, Gross, and James laughed. And Eliza Maddox knew that this, right here, was exactly where she was supposed to be. Not because someone told her, not because it was easy, but because she'd chosen it. And that made all the difference.